Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched a scathing attack against China while addressing the Indian security forces in Ladakh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the courage and valor of Indian troops is unmatched. Now, in a pointed reference to China, the Prime Minister also said that the age of expansionist powers is over. This is an age where nations are more interested in welfare and development. And he also touted the 21st century as an era where nations focus not on expansionism, but rather on the development of their populations. Listen in to what the Indian Prime Minister had to say.
विस्तारवाद का युग समाप्त हो चुका है। ये युग विकासवाद का है। तेजी से बदलते हुए समय में विकासवाद ही प्रासंगिक है। विकासवाद के लिए ही अवसर है और विकासवाद ही भविष्य का आधार भी है। बीती शताब्दियों में विस्तारवाद ने ही मानवता का सबसे ज्यादा हित किया, मानवता को विनाश करने का प्रयास किया। विस्तारवाद की जीत जब किसी पर सवार हुई है, उसने हमेशा विश्व शांति के सामने खतरा पैदा किया है। और साथियों, ये न भूले, इतिहास गवाह है कि ऐसी ताकतें मिट गई हैं या मुड़ने के लिए मजबूर हो गई है। विश्व का हमेशा यही अनुभव रहा है और इसी अनुभव के आधार पर अब इस बार फिर से पूरे विश्व ने विस्तारवाद के खिलाफ मन बना लिया है। आज विश्व विकासवाद को समर्पित है और विकास की खुली स्पर्धा का स्वागत कर रहा है। देश के वीर सपूतों ने गलवान घाटी में जो अदम्य साहस दिखाया, वो पराक्रम की पराकाष्ठा है। देश को आप पर गर्व है, आप पर नाज है। आप सभी की मेहनत से देश अनेक आपदाओं से एक साथ और पूरी दृढ़ता से लड़ रहा है। आप सभी से प्रेरणा लेते हुए हम मिलकर हर चुनौती पर, मुश्किल से मुश्किल चुनौती पर विजय प्राप्त करते रहे हैं, विजय प्राप्त करते रहेंगे। जिस भारत के सामने और हम सबने जिस भारत के सपने को लेकर और विशेष रूप से आप सब सरहद पर देश की रक्षा कर रहे हैं, हम उस सपने का भारत बनाने के लिए, आपके सपनों का भारत बनाने के लिए 130 करोड़ देशवासी भी पीछे नहीं रहेंगे, ये मैं आज आपको विश्वास दिलाने आया हूं। हम एक सशक्त और आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाएंगे, बना करके ही रहेंगे और आपसे प्रेरणा जब मिलती है तो आत्मनिर्भर भारत का संकल्प भी और ताकतवर हो जाता है.
All right, so that was an important message by the Indian Prime Minister there to the Indian forces who are stationed in Ladakh. This is an important address that the Prime Minister made, firstly to the forces who are stationed at the line of actual control. He also, in many ways, through this address, was speaking to the people of India, saying that there are certain red lines that India will never tolerate if they were to be crossed. And many would say, even though he did not mention China even once in that address, this was also a clear and a pointed message that the Indian Prime Minister sent across to China. Now, to give us more perspective in terms of what's actually happening there and the significance and the symbolism of this visit of the Indian Prime Minister to Ladakh, we are joined in by our senior political affairs editor, Kartikeya Sharma, who is joining us right now from the newsroom. Good afternoon to you, Kartikeya. This is an important visit by the Indian Prime Minister. He spoke at length to the forces stationed in Ladakh, and he said something very important which would reverberate in the corridors of power in Beijing. He said that the age of expansionism is over. History is proof that all expansionist powers have failed in their devious motives. This is an age of development and welfare, and that is what states would have to do in the 21st century. What is your take on this?
I think there are a lot of takeaways from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech. There's a lot of I would say messaging involved into it. One is solidarity. If you look at the visuals which came from the NIMU headquarters, Prime Minister was seen interacting with the soldiers. He was seen interacting with the generals, taking a brief. There were a lot of photographs of Prime Minister actually, giving this impression that he's absorbing the nitty-gritty of details. But if we decipher the speech, he has not refrained from mentioning Galwan. He has not refrained from mentioning the fact that Indian Army responded with great ferocity when that scuffle took place. Mm-hmm. He thanked the Indian Army. He said this is a different Indian Army. He also, without invoking other issues associated with the talks which is happening right now, which is at the diplomatic level or the military level, Prime Minister spoke and addressed the wearer of the Indian Army. So I think this was all about keeping the morale up, showing the solidarity, saying India stands with Indian Army, and saying that ultimately, and evoking certain religious and cultural symbols of India, and saying that this is what Indian Army believes in, and this is what India believes in. So I think this was primarily to boost the morale of our forces, because the heavy deployment already exists there. A lot of sources have confirmed that this is an unprecedented deployment, but with a lot of restraint from the Indian side. So Prime Minister in that context has given a signal to the armed forces in country that he is aware of the situation. He is aware of the movement. He understands the role of the Indian Army. And it is for this reason, for this trip, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was supposed to go, but then the Prime Minister went. And, when the Prime Minister arrived, it was only then the news broke. It was not as if it was told to the media or the people at large. So there was an element of surprise also. So if you look at the visuals, right, if you look at the videos, they say more than 1,000 words. For example, even social distancing was followed at the base camp where Prime Minister interacted with the soldiers.
Absolutely, indeed. And if you were to look at, the people that the Prime Minister was accompanied with, he was accompanied by CDS General Bipin Rawat. He also had the Chief of the Army Staff with him. Now, this is, of course, a very serious message. There is a lot of symbolism that is associated with this. There's also a message that is being sent out both to the forces, that the political establishment backs the forces Absolutely. Completely. And there is also a message both for India and for Absolutely. The powers in Beijing.
I think that's a very important point you have made. We wouldn't say it's a departure. Prime Minister has been doing so. We have shown the visuals of Prime Minister interacting with soldiers in Siachen. That's what he did in 2014. Mm-hmm. He has spent night with Indian soldiers in Kashmir. So it's not as if this is first from the Prime Minister Narendra Modi in India. This is something which he has been doing from 2014 onwards. But what this does is, it gives the message that the civilian leadership, or what we call the elected political leadership, stands with the concerns of the Indian Army. If we see the way the Indian Army and the civilian leadership interacted, there was a degree of separation. The intimacy of contact was not something which people would see on TV or understand through radio, but now with different mass media application available. You know, this intimacy, the sense of solidarity was pretty much there for everyone to see and absorb. And it is for this reason, if you start from the beginning, from Leh, the visuals which have come, he has visited the injured soldiers in Leh, the briefing which he took place at an undisclosed place, and then he made a speech. It is all about the word solidarity with the Indian Army and a person who understands what has happened with the border, and to go there at a particular point of time when Chinese Foreign Ministry reacts on it, saying that nothing should be done to complicate the situation. So Prime Minister is not seen running away from the problem. He is seen someone who is trying to address the issue.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Karthikeya, for joining us and getting us all those insights into this very symbolic and a very important trip by the Indian Prime Minister to Ladakh. Let's once again listen in to that important message that the Indian Prime Minister had to give, where he stated that the age of expansionism is over. 21st century is more the age where nations need to focus on development and welfare.
विस्तारवाद का युग समाप्त हो चुका है। ये युग विकासवाद का है। तेजी से बदलते हुए समय में विकासवाद ही प्रासंगिक है। विकासवाद के लिए ही अवसर है और विकासवाद ही भविष्य का आधार भी है। बीती शताब्दियों में विस्तारवाद ने ही मानवता का सबसे ज्यादा हित किया, मानवता को विनाश करने का प्रयास किया। विस्तारवाद की जीत जब किसी पर सवार हुई है, उसने हमेशा विश्व शांति के सामने खतरा पैदा किया है। और साथियों, ये न भूले, इतिहास गवाह है कि ऐसी ताकतें मिट गई हैं या मुड़ने के लिए मजबूर हो गई है। विश्व का हमेशा यही अनुभव रहा है और इसी अनुभव के आधार पर अब इस बार फिर से पूरे विश्व ने विस्तारवाद के खिलाफ मन बना लिया है। आज विश्व विकासवाद को समर्पित है और विकास की खुली स्पर्धा का स्वागत कर रहा है।